work, two screens, uh, filters, edit filters. Okay, I guess it's live. So hello everyone. We are back at streaming, and yeah, and this is pretty much all. Again with Nick. I
Howdy,
only have
howdy.
to resize your. I will soon even hear you. Give me a second. Okay, say something. Okay, yeah, it
Hello.
should work then. Okay, if anything is not right, just
Sick.
let us know in the comments and it should be fine. So, what are you going to draw today? What is the plan?
I
Or you don't know?
I don't know. Yeah, I still don't know. I definitely I'm very inspired by what you're doing, the line art, the sketches
Uh-huh.
and stuff like that. So I might go down that route and do something along those
Oh,
lines.
then yeah. My only plan was to just like continue on it. I was thinking that maybe I can paste filters, nice. That maybe I will paint it today, but I feel more like drawing. So I guess I will be drawing the orcs for today. And
Dude, I'm gonna ask you the most iconic question in our industry.
what are my brushes?
Yeah. I'm looking, I was like, oh, that's so sick. That looks like a pencil. That's so dope.
This one is like my most favorite brush, and it is from Darek Zabrodzki. He released the pack like ages ago, and from the entire pack, I only like this one, like this brush. It's just good at everything, pretty much. Uh, yeah, like
Oh,
drawing,
that's sick.
sketching, texture, like it's really uh, a nice full rounder. And for a really long time, I really disliked this brush in the sense that I wanted to create my own brush that I will use, that will be like my
Hmm.
brush, and I was using this brush for so long that I got so used to it that I just couldn't step away from it. And after like 2 years of trying, I was like, yeah, okay, I am no longer willing to get rid of this brush. I just adopt it. So,
Yeah, that's usually how it goes, man.
mm,
That looks awesome. See, I'm on the hunt for new brushes now. Which I usually like you. I just make my
uh
own,
huh.
but sometimes, you got to get out there and see what everybody else
Oh
is
yeah, that's true.
could be using.
Recently, I got brushes from Jama or Yamayu Barev, and they are super nice, especially for painting. A lot of great textures and everything, and also brushes of Brad Rigny are super nice.
Whoa. I think I've only heard of one of those people you just mentioned.
Uh, Jama, you definitely know, and
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
that's who. The rest, I'm
hello,
like, whoa, who
Lucas.
are they? That's
Lucas is
awesome.
here. Your also
Hello,
your
Lucas.
former coworker.
Yeah, I knew I recognized that name. I was
Yeah.
like, ah, is that the Lucas?
And yeah, now I wonder if Lucas, can you only say if you can hear Nick, because I'm not sure. The bar moves, but I am not sure if you can hear him. But yeah, for Jama or Yama, you definitely know him. And Brad Rigny is Crypt Crawler, so most likely you also know him.
If I see his work, I'd probably recognize it.
Later I will send you a link. It's like super realistic painting, photo bashing type of a guy who is just like pretty much a quality standard for since I remember, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, if he's been here, if he's been around for some time, I'd definitely. Oh, sick! You can hear me. I definitely probably have
Mm.
seen him.
And yeah, I remember I was really simping his artworks, and he made some really cool tutorials on Gumroad. I was actually like advertising them on previous streams in here, like really back in the days. And in my opinion, those are one of the best tutorials you can ever get, and they are super cheap for the quality you are getting. So definitely, I do recommend them because they are just like ultra nice.
Oh, sick! I have seen his work. Yeah, I know who this
Yep.
is.
And what is cool about his
That's awesome.
tutorials? Oh yeah, he's still alive. What is really cool about his tutorial is like just the process of how he does it, everything. But he pretty much almost do not talk about like typically art related stuff. More like a life story of his, which is really eye opening, I would say. Definitely a very cool. Uh,
In his tutorials, he talks
yeah,
about that.
basically a tutorial is just like a speed up video or like, and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
is
yeah.
just talking about like his life, his journey, and everything, which is really interesting and highly recommend it. I will later send you a link for this one because it's a really cool tutorial.
Yeah, I would be interested in checking it out. That sounds like something that would go on YouTube. I feel like that's where most people usually do, discuss more about
Hmm.
their personal
Yeah,
and
that's true
stuff.
because in the end, how much you can talk about like what are you doing actually on like in work on stream or whatever. It's
Yeah,
like I can repeat for 500 times that this line should be thicker because of reasons, but yeah, then someone will find a book or a source that says something completely opposite, and and here goes everything
yep.
that I said.
Dude, now I'm the one simping on his art. I just keep looking at it and it's awesome.
And what is much more impressive, because like he does photo bashing, and I believe he also uses 3D and everything, but
Hmm.
also vast majority of the stuff that he does is painted. So the quality that he can achieve is quite scary, actually.
Yeah, which I can tell when I look at his work. 'Cause it's funny because from afar, it's like, oh, that's definitely,
Hmm.
it's a photo or, you know. But when you actually start looking at it at the textures and everything, there's just in the painterly feeling of it,
Yeah, up
it's
close,
done so well.
it's like kind of comforting that you don't really have to paint all those details, but it's also kind of depressing that you don't have to paint all these details. But when you don't, then it does not look this good. So,
Yeah.
so there's definitely some to it. But his brushes are really nice. I always really enjoyed him. Like his brushes, especially like the textures one for skin blending, for painting and stuff like this. Those are like absolutely awesome. So you should definitely give them a go. And the tutorial is like $5 or
Yeah.
something like this. So
How long is the tutorial
uh,
usually? This is a
it
giant
was
plug
like
for
5 hours, I believe, or something
oh,
like
okay, so it's,
this.
it's a solid amount. That's dope.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I was basically like rewatching it, I don't know, 5 times, because when it was going on the second screen, and I was not looking at the screen, every time that I would look after like rewatching it, I would get something absolutely new that I have not seen previously when I was watching the tutorial. So
Yeah.
in this case, it was cool.
That's interesting. I with the tours, I find it very hard to sit through a lot of them, mainly just because I feel like my style of learning is very much like
Uh
a
huh.
hands-on, and so it usually like for me, I just look at it like, oh man, just throw me in and then give me a couple pointers while I'm doing it. Unless somebody's really fast, like I've had some teachers that eventually after asking enough questions they're like, all right, cool, like this is what you do, 1 2 3, and then it's something that they tell me within
Hmm.
like 5 to 6 minutes, and it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, but there is, I think, limited amount of tips that you can get that will work like this quickly in a sense.
Totally.
Yeah, for me, for tutorials, usually it was like I just like to turn something on the second screen and just not really pay attention to it. Just let it roll in the background. and just draw alongside,
Yeah.
because usually, especially back in the days when I was like drawing something for myself, I really tend to get or easily distracted or bored like in a way that I couldn't draw what I wanted to. So I was like
Hmm.
leaning toward like quick dopamine shots with some videos and stuff like this. And when I was watching like tutorials that they basically go together with me, like when I draw and something else also is drawing in the background, it made it so much easier to focus on everything.
Yeah, I actually, because it kind of feels like a podcast almost.
Yeah, but with one person, kinda a little bit more personal podcast, if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, it's like comedians, they do those type of podcasts where it's just them talking into a camera about whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was talking about that last time, where I just find it so impressive to be able to hold that up for an hour and a half. Just you know?
It is.
It's like people that do streaming by
It is
themselves.
definitely is really hard. But also, as I said, if there is at least one person that you can bounce your like thoughts off, then it's like world easier.
Yeah.
So this is one of the rules. I remember when I was like learning before I even started streaming, I was like watching some tutorials on like how to actually stream and everything. And like one of the most like annoying tip that was constantly showing all over the place, like every single tutorial was like call to action and stuff like this, tell people to subscribe or whatever, just like be super
Yeah.
entertaining and whatnot. And when I was like starting, it was super hard to be like entertaining because I was stressed beyond like belief with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like there is maybe a bit of that added pressure, especially when you feel like you're being recorded or watched.
Yeah, but also the added pressure, in my opinion, also really helped me to reach better quality because I was like, I can't fuck up, so because people will see, so I had to make sure that
Yeah.
whatever I do will be nice or at least acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. That's how I'm feeling right now, bro. I'm like, oh crap, what do I even do? What the camera's
Yeah,
rolling. And I'm just kind of going with the first thing that comes to my mind.
yeah. Until I reach the point that I basically absolutely do not care. So, and then it's the most fun. It's the nicest.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it does work. Ah, nice. So, what is your plan for today for drawing?
Um. So I think I want to do something with music. I sound like some sort of musician, and I like the idea of him being like
Mm-hmm.
supernatural or like elemental of some sort. So probably gonna combine those two
Ah,
together somehow.
nice.
I like that. What are you thinking for yours? I know that you were saying that you're just gonna keep fleshing it out, but what do you think about the direction you're going in?
Honestly, I was thinking that everything that I will do will be more in the vibe of Magic the Gathering because I always wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do it, and by any reason I have never done it. So I guess I will just like treat it as a practice to just like go through all the steps. So the sketch, the line art, the blockout, the shadows, just slow and
Yeah.
steady.
Wait, like a full-on illustration?
I guess. I think I prefer
That's
to
sick.
start and finish something than to just like do tons of sketches. I think it was always a case for me.
I agree. I mean, well, I definitely feel that I want to have more of a better plan coming into,
Mm.
streams and stuff. But at the same time, it's also fun to like, all right, let's see what
Yeah,
comes out.
that's definitely true. For me, I just felt that I just need to finish more stuff because Uh, but on the other hand, I also need to sketch much more because my sketches are kinda meh. But if I will practice like let's say like right now, so the line art and everything in a steady manner, then I guess sketching will also improve.
Well, it's funny because this also is like a like portfolio making time. It's like, all right, whatever we make, like it's. I know for me, I definitely have been treating it like that. It's like, oh man, I can't wait to do
Mhm.
personal work, and then like have the potential of adding it up. So I feel like that's the main thing that goes through my mind, especially when we're working.
Yeah. With and is there like a general plan that you want to like stuff that you want to include in your portfolio, or just like you will roll with whatever comes?
Well, for me, I feel like my portfolio has been so outdated that like I want to do more of the stuff that I've been doing recently that I
Mm-hmm.
haven't been able to show. And so that, I mean, and it's not only style wise, it's also stuff like ideas. Like I remember when I was first, like earlier on, first working on my portfolio, I feel like the only stuff that I thought to make was like warriors and anything in that category. It's like, oh, it's got to be cool. It's got to be
Mm-hmm.
like super freaking sick, right? But nowadays, just because of the stuff that I've worked on in the past year and a half, like my mind has totally changed where I want to explore different type of characters. I mean, I feel like I still have a bit of that thing of wanting to draw warriors, but now I'm a little bit more invested in like or wanted curious about like, all right, but what else about this though? Like what is this, character doing? So I guess the answer to that question is like if something I want to focus on
Mm-hmm.
character depth because I feel like that's probably one of the things that I've seen get asked the most to do.
Yeah, yeah. So not only have like a nice image, but also some idea behind it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, it is pretty surprising because I remember again I like feel like I keep referring to the good
Uh-huh.
old days like 3 years ago whatever, but I remember thinking it's like there's no way they're just gonna be asking for simple characters
Uh-huh.
whenever I work. But the reality that it's been otherwise.
So you mean you usually were asked for a simple characters, right?
No, I
Ah, okay,
thought I would
okay.
get asked
Uh-huh.
for simple characters, but that wasn't the case. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like asked for characters that are so unique that are not even warriors. Stuff like what I just like mentioned, like musicians, or I mean, I don't think I've been asked for librarians yet, but I wouldn't like put it beside a client to be like, what would be really cool in our game, like a librarian character. And funny enough, I would be like, yeah, I
That's true. But also the one of the things that always is interesting for me is like the process of the thought process sometimes of the people who makes games. Like why, for example, a librarian? Like what is the cause for it? So like I don't know. Like, librarians just want to have their representation of them, or like sometimes, because usually when I was working with clients, especially on the freelance, sometimes the decision making process was really super odd for me. It was not making a lot of sense, and it often ended up with, like, for example, the game on the or the illustration just being weird for the sake of being weird, or having characters just for the sake of having them without like any reason in particular. So I was always wondering like why why does it happen?
Yeah, and I feel like what I've learned recently in terms of that is that, well, especially for games like, for example, that Raid
Hmm.
Legends game, right? You can only have so many characters that are, just the same thing, right? Like, you can only have so many characters that use
Hmm.
two weapons in their hands, and like you gotta add some different stuff, and I feel like that's where the creative work comes in, and that's where I've seen some of the coolest designs ever.
About Raid, today I showed they did a huge drop of new artworks on our station. I have not yet seen it, but I've seen the, I believe, Plarium updated like 10 new artworks or something like this.
Yeah.
But I'm yet to watch all of them and go through everything.
I kind of I took a little peek inside this morning, and I thought I was like, I mean, some of it is stuff that I've seen in
Hmm.
other artists, like in their personal art station, but some other stuff is
Yeah,
like, oh,
I
that's
always
awesome,
really
you
like
know?
their quality
Like,
because like there's tons of games like the Straight Shadow Legend, just like dozens of them, but they
hmm
have this this something extra to them. I don't know how to say it in other way, but they just have a very nice designs. They seem to really care
yeah.
about what they are doing with all this.
You know, it's so different. I agree with that because when I see their take on characters that are widely done, like orcs, I mean, that one does look like an orc, but then there is subtle little things where it's like, oh, that's different. That's cool. The dwarves they do, I think, are the coolest, though. I think they've done some of the coolest dwarves I've seen.
I don't think I remember
Like,
any of the dwarves that they have done.
oh man, you got to
Uh,
check them out
yeah, I
because
have
they're
a
sick.
homework now.
And yeah, dude, well, especially like wanting to design dwarves, you know, like I'd go on Pinterest and all the stuff I find is very like generic, the normal looking stuff, very World of
Or
Warcraft
Warhammer.
like, which
Hmm.
yeah, exactly. Which Warhammer I think is great reference, but it's also very limited.
Hmm.
And even looking at that as like a oh wait, actually with a very limited reference, they're able to pull off some of the coolest designs like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, with dwarves usually what I find kind of weird is the way usually dwarf is like everything is super blocky. They always have like the mohawk is the hair, yeah, I guess it was the mohawk.
Yeah.
Red hair is like almost always a must, and like those generic engravings in everything. And I do
Yeah.
believe if you would just like take, I don't know, 10 different dwarves from different projects, they would kind of fit together anyway. So dwarves are definitely super tricky to design nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think like wouldn't you say then maybe the other way to do it is like just completely redesign your idea of dwarves and what they might look
They
like?
did it in Magic the Gathering with one of the sets where they made the dwarves be more like from uh, like not warm countries, Middle Eastern countries or something like this. And this was interesting take on dwarves, but it was so different that for me it was a bit odd to like see those like Middle Eastern style dwarves. It was like I guess too original for me, like too far away from comfort zone with the dwarves.
Interesting. Do you think that that type of stuff happens because of, you know, you kind of already have developed an idea of what dwarves look like because of Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, most likely, yeah. But also I like the fact that they are experimenting with like, oh, my Photoshop is acting up, with like different designs.
It's funny. Mine
Yeah,
is
it just
too.
started lagging for no reason. They're collecting data.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, what I really maybe not don't maybe I don't like it, but I think there is a more interesting way that will be a bit more tricky to go with it. Because usually when they try to create something new, it's basically they try to mix the settings up. So for example, like you just take something that you know already is like established, but there was like never a cold version of it, and you just make it in a snow or something like this. So you, for example, just would
hmm
mix the Egypt stuff with snow, and I always had mixed feelings about it because on one hand it's a very not natural way of creating new stuff, but on the other hand I kind of think it's a bit lazy in a sense. It's like too simple. But on the other hand, simple usually is best. So
Why do you think it's simple though? Is it just because there's not a lot of depth, or?
Like I feel that the idea is a bit uh, flat in a sense that you couldn't come up with something that is more interesting in the same like topic. So for example, let's say we have dwarves like living underground and in the caves and everything, which is like the most generic
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But
Totally.
you just go with stuff like, oh, maybe we should make the dwarves living in a frozen caves and stuff like this, and pretend that it's super like original and everything. And
I
it
get you.
maybe was not done like anywhere else like previously, but I kind of feel it's a bit lame like way of doing it. Or the other thing is making absolutely new design that is so super different but still calling it a dwarf. So for example, you will make something that looks like an elf, but you will call it a dwarf just for the sake of being original.
That's funny. Yeah. I feel like I feel like when you first start coming up with characters, I know for me that's definitely what you first described. Like, oh, but I'm gonna put it in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's such an easy trap to fall into. But I also think that like when working in a studio or like in the industry, I feel like a good art
Mm-hmm.
director or whatever, they'll catch on to that and then they'll definitely start correcting. I mean, that's been my experience where, you know, I might have very limited scope or idea of where I might be going, and the AD's like, well, hold on now, like let's think about this for a second, like,
Mm-hmm.
don't just add snow and fur and then boom, that's it. And this again, back to what we were
Yeah,
talking about
true.
earlier with the depth, you know? It's like when you actually start fleshing out the story is when the design gets super interesting. It's like, oh wait, but he's in the mountain for a very specific reason. And maybe, that also affects his skin and you start really breaking it
Yeah,
down.
just like listing the stuff
So
that
I,
could
I, I
happen
agree.
potentially with it. That's
Mm-hmm.
true. But this is hard to make usually. And also, this is the thing that a lot of people, when they actually start designing or just doing anything like design related, don't really understand in a sense that uh, they think like say just drawing cool characters in like fur with swords and everything is like enough. And also, it is visible when the game has artists who think like this, and when the game does not have an art director who can correct this type of stuff, because then you
Mm-hmm.
just end up with designs that don't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's when you end up with the comments like whenever you see the trailer for a
Hmm.
game and it's like, wait, this is like World of Warcraft 2 or something.
Yeah, for the artwork that I have done recently with the guy with the like spire like helmet, pretty much all the comments that I'm getting is like, "Whoa, Blasphemous too," like this pixel art game. And I never played it, which is kind of interesting. Now I definitely have to. But on the other hand, I don't think I mind stuff like this. I guess in the end, people associate it with something they like, so it's fine with me.
Yeah.
And for you,
Yeah.
what is the most common comparison that you have had, or were you ever
The
compared?
last no, so the last one I had, which was with the big dude, the most
Mm-hmm.
recent character I did, from my art station, and I did it inspired by Destiny. But funny enough, I haven't played Destiny enough to know
Mm-hmm.
the characters and the backgrounds, and so kind of went from like first what I know, like the first hand experience from the trailers and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and from my past knowledge because I did play back in the day when it first came out, right? And so I thought it was like, oh, it'd be so sick to, like work at Bungie and, also
Mm-hmm.
design stuff for this game. And I did it with that in mind. And then one of the comments that came through is one of the guys comparing it to saying like, "Oh, this is like that character but on steroids." And I go and look at the character, dude, is literally, I mean, almost exactly what I did, and it
Oh.
sucks because I can't be like, "Oh, well, dang, well, I didn't know that guy existed," because I clearly like Destiny, so it's like you must know. But it is funny because I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me, really?" And it's funny because my character, like, I always thought it's like, "Oh, I like designing characters that are different, like different ethnicities and just different. Well, I haven't
Mhm.
designed many like different genders and stuff, but it's like mainly different ethnicities because you can explore the cultural backgrounds.
Mhm.
And so I thought, oh, it's gonna be so cool because like he's African American and maybe there could be something to him. And the character is literally African American too. So it's like, oh man, okay, well
How
that's
did it happen? I wanted to be original.
yeah, dude. I thought I was reinventing the wheel. I
Yeah,
thought it was gonna
I
be
know
like
this feeling.
it's
Especially when I finish doing something and then I'm like, this actually reminds me of this. And then I open Pinterest that I, for example, saved like half a year ago and I'm like, oh, it's basically like almost one-to-one copy, but I did this from memory. So I'm like kinda guilt-free, but not really.
dude, and the worst part is thinking like, dude, I really did just spend like 5 hours straight listening to epic music and think that
Hmm.
I'm about to change the world with this design just to come up with something that you already that's already done.
Yeah,
That's
it did
the biggest
happen
buzzkill.
way too many times.
Oh man, that's the biggest buzzkill. But other than that, I don't think Um, I've gotten any comparisons like that. The only thing that I get sometimes is more so like, oh, like you definitely, like I can tell you like World of Warcraft or that you
Hmm.
like Diablo, you know?
Ah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's. But that's sometimes also super obvious because it's also funny enough because you never played Diablo, so
yeah, dude, yeah, yeah. That is a funny one.
a gentle reminder that you have to.
Oh man, and I don't even know that like some of the clients or the clients that we worked with, I don't even think they knew that. But I'm just like, all right, cool, send me in. I get it. I mean, I've seen it for such a long time. I've been a fan of
Hmm.
Blizzard games for a long time that I get it. But I feel like at the same time, because of that, I've gotten a pretty like fresh view on it, like a new perspective.
Yeah, but often, very often, because I think vast majority of artists like actually don't even play the stuff that they are doing or that they have done. So, as far as I know, some people from Assassin's Creed team who were doing the concepts and everything, like, never even played the game. Like, they are
Yeah.
absolutely not even aware how the game works and stuff like this. Which for me is kind of odd because, like, on one hand, I understand it, like um the not wanting to play the product that you helped create, but on the other hand, I believe if you want to make games, you just have to play the games to just
Yeah.
like know the just know the stuff. I don't know. I just oh my god, I lost my train of thought because I was reading a comment.
Me
Uh,
too.
I think it's hard to explain those really subtle details about like games and stuff that gamers usually like if you don't actually play the game. It's like doing stuff without practice, kinda, in a sense, for
Hmm.
me. So I believe if someone wants to be good at designing games and characters and whatnot, they should definitely should play some games, even from time to time.
Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about being in the industry now, because games is technically research.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like that's my new my new thing is like, I guess I'm gonna go do some research in this Call of Duty game. Like,
It's also a very good excuse to not work or not to do anything else, but
technically you are working though, because you're doing research.
yeah, yeah, that's true. But
Dude,
also, when you are playing Call of Duty and games of this type, you more often than not will just become frustrated and not finalize any research. So,
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, definitely. It is funny though, because I have thought I was like, well, because here, in the U.S., when you do
Hmm.
taxes and stuff, you can obviously deduct things that are for work.
Hmm.
And I thought I was like, so does that mean that I could like buy games and then write them off? So technically, I'm getting hooked up.
Yeah, because for legal reasons, I have to own a company in Poland. And
Mhm.
when I had this like other rules for my company, I could deduct games for like the research purposes because I could just say that I'm designing games. I just need to be like on time with all the new technologies and whatever is happening on the market and whatnot. And everything that was like games, computers related, I could easily deduct from from my income, like from the
I hope
taxes.
I hope the the IRS, the tax body of the U.S. does not listen to this, because he's like, look at these guys, they're just taking advantage.
I mean, it's not really taking advantage because I just like I mean I use it for the sole purpose and
Yeah,
like
true.
they never said that I can't have fun while doing stuff for company. So
Mm-hmm.
so that's true. Yeah, but
That's awesome.
also
You
it,
get to,
it's
yeah,
kind of
you
fun
go.
in Poland because the taxes are so super wild that even in the the Polish version of IRS, I don't believe they fully understand the fuck is going on in there and who does what and who should do what because it's a mess in most of the time.
How does it work? I'm see, because I don't know anything about.
Mm,
Obviously, I'm not from Poland, or I don't live there.
it is like the long story short because I have one funny kind of story with it with the taxes because I was by accident for the entire year you have to select the type of a tax that you are paying.
Mm-hmm.
And for the entire year, for some weird reason, instead of like let's say tax number one, I was choosing that I should pay tax number two or something like this, just because I messed up the letters. Instead of like let's say ABC, I was selecting ABB, which
Yeah.
is like it was a difference of like 4% or something like this. But amount wise, I was paying all the taxes correctly. Like the amount was correct, everything was correct, but instead of like lower percentage, I was selecting a higher percentage. So technically speaking, I was not paying a correct amount because the percentage I selected was bigger, so I should like pay this several percent more. So then it will be like fully correct. Uh, but I made this mistake for like the entire year. Alongside it, I needed some paperwork that everything regarding taxes is fine, and they gave me papers that everything regarding taxes is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I needed it to like house stuff and everything. And after like a year, my accountant asked me like, which tax were you like choosing? And I was like, this one. And she told me, oh, for the entire year you were like choosing the incorrect tax. And I was like, fuck, it will be a problem. And like, it kinda is a problem with stuff like this because you don't really fuck up with taxes.
Does that mean that you have to pay more? Like that you owe
Technically,
now?
technically speaking, yes, I should pay the missing like 4 or 5% or something like this because I was selecting the higher tax.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they resolved this, they gave me a tax return because they just decided that okay, so you were paying you should pay this percentage, but you selected this percentage, but everything that you paid is like correct, so you have like everything paid by 100%,
Mm-hmm.
but the 100% now we treat as you paid the higher percentage, so we need to lower your percentage to match your like original percentage, and now we owe you this 4 or 5% that you like overpaid, and it made zero sense for me.
It
So
makes zero sense. As you explain it to me, it's funny because I'm like, yeah, oh, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, dang, that is a
yeah, like
lot.
it's hard to even like explain it, but long story short, I paid correct amount, selected I should pay more. They told me the more I should pay is paid, but I selected more and I should select less, so they gave me some money back. And it was like, uh, maybe there is a reason. Maybe I misunderstood it completely, which most likely is the case, but it just was working like this. So honestly, I have no idea how the taxes work, and I hope I will never have to do the taxes on my own. And without the accountant, I will die.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel, dude. Especially when working for yourself. That's a big one.
hmm Yeah, at first when I
It's
was starting, I wanted to like, yeah, I will do all my taxes by myself and everything. And then it was like a huge hit with reality. And then I was
mm-hmm.
like, nope, I am absolutely not going to do anything taxes related on my own. It's way too
I mean,
complex.
especially when you're working for yourself. That's a big one.
Especially also when you have to like manage all the other stuff and like have time for a living. So this
Yeah.
is also a big thing because
Dude, this is the most grown-up conversation I've had in a while.
yeah, my significant other came back. Give me a moment.
Yeah, of course.
Hey. Okay, I'm back.
That's funny. I was about to do that silly joke, like, look at me, I'm the captain now.
For a brief moment, you were.
Yeah. I was starting to freak out. I was like, man, this is a lot of power. What do I do? This is my stream now.
Yeah, you could draw something that is illegal and they will ban me, and you will be like, yeah, one less competition.
And then direct everybody like to a channel I make. It's like, hey, and by the way, guys.
Yeah. I mean, it is tactics. It is considered a dick move, but it will work. So,
That's a tough one. That's mean strategy right there. That's like war tactics.
yeah, I kind of wonder like how they would treat it because I mean, with YouTube, most likely if you just mess up with something, you just like they will just delete you and don't give you any explanation.
Yeah, I've heard.
They are quite they are known for doing stuff like this. Uh, but I wonder if there's like somewhere the info that I am responsible for everything that you would do. I think yeah, because I share the screen, so
Well, I mean, because it is your like technically it's on your side,
yeah, yeah.
right?
So I guess it's full like my full responsibility to make sure that everyone who is in here behaves correctly.
Well, don't worry. I'm not gonna do any of that, man.
Yeah, I just can't leave the stream for longer than 5 minutes
Your
unattended.
stream is safe with me. You come back, we're gonna be doing like a game show or something. I'll be doing raffles.
What is ruffles? I don't think I know this word.
Raffles is like I've never thought about it how to explain raffles. Raffles it's like a lottery. Yeah,
Ah,
that's a
okay.
better way to explain it. It's like, hey, pick a number. But in this case it'd be like, oh, drop a comment on your favorite, flavor of ice cream, and then if it's the one that I was thinking, it's like, and you get a free Cintiq.
And then someone will come to my house and be like, you promised me a Cintiq. What? I absolutely hate drawing the area of the bicep, chest, and shoulder connecting to the body. I absolutely never got it right in the first try.
You know what I'd like to do is put a nice little piece of cloth hanging over that.
Uh, yeah, I am trying to avoid doing like stuff like this because then I will end up with everything being in cloth. So, and it will be a problem at some point. I can't like be like an AI to hide all my stuff.
Dude, if AI can do it, you can do it. Just mess it up. Just do it wrong.
Yeah, this is also a good idea.
Just have fun and just you know what? Just say like this is how I interpret
Yeah,
a
this is
bicep
my
and
style of bicep.
yeah, this is my interpretation of this
This is a fantasy creature. You can't prove me that the biceps don't grow like this in this fantasy creature.
because it is in your world and your
I actually
imagination.
saw comments like this. I remember there was one guy like several years ago on Level Up group,
Yeah, I remember.
and he was so like a lot of people like the artwork was relatively okay, but a lot of people were commenting on the anatomy and everything, just giving the general pointers that you messed up this muscle, that muscle, and everything. And the dude was so adamant that everything that he did is correct because it is his style. It was kind of baffling for me. Like, how can you ask for a critique and then just be like,
Yeah.
no, you are not right? Like, of course, sometimes people giving, like, person giving you a critique might actually not be correct, but still, yeah, I guess.
I mean, I will say time and place. When I first thought, I was like, was he getting critiques without asking?
No, no, like a
Because,
group that is like purely for like give me a critique
oh,
because like I want to improve. Is like even it's in the rules, the level up group. But yeah, some people just upload stuff to groups like this to get likes and praise and everything like this. And also,
which
what do you
is,
think about the kind of unwanted critique, like when you don't ask for a critique but you receive it anyway? What is your take on it?
um, I don't really respond to it. I mean, I listen, you know, it might be something that I overlooked, but if it is something that is like, you know, like, all right, whatever. And it's like, oh, well, you know, thank you. I feel like that's the best way to go about it because when you get defensive, I feel like low key people are kind of looking for that. And
Yeah.
nowadays,
Uh-huh.
and so I rather just take the route of, you know, being appreciative of that and just going about my merry way. I did have that in one of my old pieces. I think it's the Wolverine one
Hmm.
that I had running. Somebody's like, dude, the legs, fix the legs. And it was on ArtStation.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought I was like, you know, well, cool, you know. But it's different, obviously, if I'm showing somebody. Oh, well, your question was about unwanted critiques. Yeah, I don't really deal with them, you know. But I myself, actually, on the other hand, um, because I don't like it now, when people show me work, I also have to stop myself from giving any sort of critiques. That happens, like, for example, like if you show me stuff or any of other friends show me stuff,
Uh-huh.
I like to sometimes ask, it's like, hey, do you want me to say anything about this, or out of respect? I feel like that's a fair way to
Oh,
do it.
yeah. For me, just in case if I ever send you anything, feel free to like demolish it and just be like 100% dick about it. So I won't attach hard feelings to it. I'll be like, thanks.
Dude, well, see, but I feel like there's a difference because you and I are friends, and so like, because I would expect the same if I send you something,
Hmm.
because I really value your feedback, and so it's like, hey, if you say nothing but nice things, then I'd be like, well, I guess we're not friends. But
Nice,
at
nice,
least,
thanks, and here is a laughing emote or something like this. So now it's official. It's nice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I would expect that from friends, but if it's like strangers, then definitely I'd veer on the side of caution and just
Mm.
like ask first if it's okay.
I remember
What do you
really
what do you
back, like really long time ago. It was actually my tactic to make friends with some people. I would just bother the shit out of them for critiques and everything. And
How did that work out for you?
I became friends with Najmul this way. So yeah,
Sick.
so it kind of worked out. Like it was, it was a really lucky hit, I would say, because he was really like. It turns out we had tons of stuff in common, like in terms of like what we like and everything. But yeah, just asking him for like, yo, can you give me a paint over on this one, yo, and stuff like that. I was like, it worked. So Now I know it was not
Yeah.
a good approach, but back then it seemed perfectly reasonable.
Dude, that takes balls, man.
Or like the really lack of knowing that it takes balls. So
I would have never thought about that for sure. I mean, I even friends of mine back in the day, I was definitely like, "Oh, I don't want to ask for, and not like of ignorance, but I just like, I'm pretty sure they get that all the time, you know.
yeah,
I'm definitely more of the timid type.
for me it's usually like now like I don't trust myself like enough to finish an artwork without getting a feedback from like any
Hmm.
other person, because sometimes I will just like my brain won't see the most obvious stuff, like for example the I don't know the thumb is on the other side of the hand. It does happen from time to time.
Hmm.
So now I definitely like the feedback is the coolest part that I believe someone can get.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I really miss about the team environment, is that the feedback part of things,
But on the
because it
other
is
hand,
cool.
even if you are on freelance, still the client is most likely skilled enough to provide you a feedback that is more than good. So
Most often that is the case, unless you're stuck with clients that don't know what they want. Then
yeah,
that's an even better one.
uh, better one in a sense.
Oh, not in a better one. That's like, I mean, that more so in a sarcastic way, which happens, you know. But I also feel like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
especially with working with clients, you do have a certain responsibility to speak up when something you think could be done better.
Yeah, yeah. Unless they ignore it, then you don't really care that much anymore. So
I feel like there's a way to frame stuff like that. Like for you, like wouldn't when you like if you feel like you might have a better idea, how would you approach it?
usually, like, I think personally, I think the best way to approach stuff like this is to present it in a way that the client will discover it by himself. But I will do everything to give them the idea, but make them think they came up with this idea. This way,
Hmm.
this is like the definitely the most like proof method of improving something, because sometimes like I guess it's just a very natural fit of pretty much every single human that if you like give any critique, even like if it's a good critique, they will get defensive,
Yeah.
just because it just works this way. So I think the best way is to just like present it really softly without any hard feelings. But yeah, sometimes you just have to do what they ask you to, and just forget.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that I personally like that the approach of like just doing maybe this might not be like great, but it's like doing the extra work
Hmm.
and giving them what they asked for, and then on the side it's like, oh, by the way, I thought of this cool little option. What do you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I saw it in some of the Fengzu videos where he always said that if you want to present something, always make the client safe option, then make like a mix up of client safe and something experimental. And if you have
Yeah.
time, only then do like a version of like, yo, I know this is not what you asked for, but I thought maybe like this absolutely completely different idea might work better for you. So
Yeah.
just then you can do like the.
I like that. I like that method a lot. I also feel like, there is something like there's something to maybe wanting to create a team environment, even when you're freelance, with your client, like feeling like you're both in a team and it's not, you're not just some guy doing work, right?
Mhm.
Like that's what I like about that sort of approach because it's like, oh yeah, we're a team here and we're both gonna make this project a success.
Yeah, and also what is really cool about most of the artists, anyway, even if they like employ you, they are still super helpful because they are also artists, so they know what it takes to
Yeah.
do stuff. So this is definitely a huge thing to have.
Yeah.
one of the stuff where the gym actually is super helpful with art, and what I like, slightly changing the topic, is the fact that because I know shit ton of different exercises, I can almost always just write down the exercise with the exact pose that I need, and it's much easier to find a reference when you know what type of exercise you are looking for.
True. Yeah, I agree. I like that. I like to look at the actual, like, if I can find any stills of like sports.
Mm.
I think those are also great references too.
Yeah, also I believe it was you like ages ago, like I don't even remember how long it was, when you sent me some references with the rugby dudes. And
Yeah.
soon after,
American, we'll call it American football, but here it's just football.
yeah, it can be. In here, the
I
football is
say that,
something absolutely different, so.
dude. I say that because when I sent it to you, like, oh, these are football references, and you're like, well,
Actually.
no, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually not gatekeeping stuff like this because I am absolutely not into like soccer and football or whatever sports like those. It's just like out of my interest zone. But sometimes it's kind of fun because I know usually Americans get really angry about this one thing in particular. So
About the whole football and soccer
yeah,
thing.
as far as I know, and I have seen many comments about it, they really fire up really quickly about stuff like this.
That's funny. I have yet to encounter that because I mean here it's just rolls out the tongue like, oh yeah, was watching football.
Uh-huh.
But I do remember earlier in my years not encounter it, but hearing about that a lot. It's like, well, hey, hold on a second. Like football is something different, and that's usually from people where coming from where countries that
Mm.
they actually do refer to it as like you know football. Like Colombia, where I came from, that's football. So.
Uh-huh.
But when I came here, I was like, I just gotta assimilate. I'm one of them now.
Yeah, I can't be bad in here. They have to like me.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, what the hell? Football it is.
Mhm. Yeah, and also one of the better tips about references is the fact to watch videos, like to gather references from the videos instead of photos, because like photos are posed and the body does not work the way
Yeah,
when it's posed. So it was also a very nice tip to have.
I agree. Yeah, and there's nothing like actually seeing how the body moves and how the muscles react to that.
Especially
I think
also
we
in
have a
the fight
question.
sports. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, my screen is moved to the right and I was not seeing the chat. How to draw a perfect cube in perspective when I have drawn a plane in the middle where the cube should be. Uh, I do. I believe you also went through Sasha training about constructing solids.
Yep.
It's a very long answer. Long story short, uh, I think I would suggest, especially while starting the perspective, I think it's better to just try to eyeball it, like make a basic construction on an ellipse, but just eyeball it, kinda, so it looks like cube. I don't know. Do you think? Do you like see a huge value in constructing everything like super precise at start, or not?
It depends. I don't. Like for me, how I use perspective is like for example, this dude I'm doing right here. I would let me just make it super light. If I want to know how something is wrapping around an object,
Hmm.
I, like I think I did these two lines that I have here in the bottom. That is my help in seeing where the perspective is. I mean, because this tells me that if it's something like this, and I build it up, then maybe my horizon line or something is like probably somewhere around here, which tells me that everything that I'm looking at in the character, I'm looking at it from top down. If that makes sense,
Hmm.
right? Um, and so the next part of that is like, all right, well, if I'm looking at it top down, then here's my ball joint, then I'm probably gonna be looking at this arm, something like this, and then you actually did that earlier. I saw that you did that with yours. So if you want to rewind the video, you can see that in action. But
Mhm.
um, and then with this, then you can start actually adding fabrics and stuff like that. That's my main use for perspective, is this as well as um like the shading part of things, like how to actually set up the shading. These are all things I learned from Sasha, by the way. If we keep saying that name,
Mhm.
I believe Lucas just helped us out with his name on the chat. But yeah, that's my main thing. Environment, I'd say that's a different animal.
Mhm.
I have used crude perspective for environments, and I will say that it I I'm trying I'm trying not to be mean about this, but I hate doing it. Like I had to do it for a task like a long time ago,
Mhm.
and it came out bad. But it was also I was doing, I was like, this sucks so much. So that's where I would
Uh,
say, like, just go to 3D.
oh
But
yeah. Mhm.
learning the basics of perspective are great, because you can, even in 3D, when you put it in the scene, you can actually then in your mind move and adjust things as you need
Yeah,
it. I don't
because
know if
this
that
is
was
also
fair.
the other stuff that 3D sometimes is too perfect, and you just have to like destroy the like its perfection so it looks correct. Because sometimes stuff from 3D, even they are like 100% correct, they will not look correct.
Totally. And I think it actually, it gives you a grounds for you to be able to go and do your thing.
Hmm.
And that's why, it's
And
like there's so much use.
for
And
you, do
after
you
that,
have
it's like,
like this? Like, have you studied the perspective heavily, like the
uh,
construction part of it, or you just like more like you have been drawing for so long and that you just get hung of it?
yeah, I mean, I have had formal training in it, as in, like, when I was in art school, I had a
Mm-hmm.
whole freaking class on perspective. And so through there, I learned some of the basics. But I will say, from that class, like, there's only so much that I actually retained, because it was a lot of it was stuff that is super specific. Like, it's very, um, I'll say this, I don't think I've used majority of it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stuff I've learned is the stuff I find myself using the most are the basic things that I learned about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time around, going, through training with Sasha, that I think he explained it in a different way that was very helpful in advancing that knowledge, because it was very much stuff that I could use in my workflow. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not only plotting the shapes, but actually the shading and how it actually, interacts with objects when they overlap.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I'd say, yeah, I've studied it in that way. And then obviously, with him, I had to do, and same with the other class, I had to do exercises and actually set up perspectives and
Mm-hmm.
do all that. So, I will say, I feel like that is I would still, like, if you give me a school curriculum, I would still include that class in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's more like the right of way is like, perspective, at least a little bit of perspective. Um, but yeah, I think it's useful. I hope we
Yeah,
answered the question, by the way. I
I believe so. But yeah, I mean, we could show how to construct it, but it will take like half an hour to make it like really properly. So
Yeah. By the way, can we are links allowed? Lucas asked earlier. I think he was
I
probably trying
believe
to, like,
so.
put up
Honestly, I have
Sasha's.
no idea. I don't know if YouTube bans links or not. I do think people were sending some links previously, but
I think he might
I'm
have been
not
asking,
sure.
like, if you would give permission. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Possibly. Definitely on Twitch, they are not allowed. On Twitch, you can't post links because there is a risk. And Twitch is also much like stricter with policies and everything, as far as I know, for the links. On YouTube, honestly, I don't know. People were
That's
definitely
crazy.
sending people like links to their artworks, like on Imgur, Imgur. I have no idea how to even say it. I believe it's the first time I ever saw like try to say this word. Uh, but yeah, it should work. Also, I kind of wonder if I were to, let's say, start from scratch now, and for example, I would start with this like heavy academic approach of learning like perspective and everything. I wonder how I would evolve, like how much of the stuff that I do is based on the like the environmental factor of how was I learning about all those stuff.
This kind of goes into that question, like, hey, if you could do it again, like, how would you do it? But I think the important factor is like, do I have the knowledge that I have now? As it not in terms of art, but more so like of what is maybe important to know. I don't know if, like, I guess the mileage, right? Like if they erased your skills and you had to like relearn your skills, like, I don't know
Yeah,
if that's even good,
I
but
kinda, I hopefully am a bit smarter than I used to be back in the days. I can't say for sure, but I think that like just being older makes it a bit easier to learn stuff. I
yeah,
never agreed with the stuff that you have to learn when you are young because it's the best time for learning. Like when I was young, I was definitely dumber and definitely I had more
yep,
problems with learning stuff. Now I feel it's like when I want to learn something, I just like start and learn it, and it just goes somehow. Maybe it's not like the fastest learner. Maybe I'm not the fastest learner, but I definitely can learn something much more efficient and just better than I was able to like back then.
yeah,
And also for you when you
I
were
agree.
practicing, how like had you did you had a schedule like because I saw a lot of people had this like Monday, Tuesday I train anatomy. This day I train this. Have you ever done something like this?
For me personally, no. And I tried. I definitely one day I was like, you know what? It's time to stop playing games around here. I'm gonna get serious about this. And what I found is that it was not conducive to actual learning. The only time I ever did that was when I was in school.
Hmm.
And that's I truly believe the reason why I like that was mainly because of the environment. There's something different about sitting in a classroom, you know,
Hmm.
and learning. And funny enough, even when I was in classrooms, I was drawing, but I was also taking in everything they would tell me. And I remember, dude, I remember knowing one time one of the teachers swung by my desk and saw, because they had computers
Uh-huh.
on every desk, obviously, and he saw that I was drawing. He's like, "It's pretty cool."
This is a good teacher then, because usually you will be like, you can't earn with art." And,
Yeah, yeah. But I think he says, yeah, like afterwards, he says something like, "Hey, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad as long as you're still like retaining some info."
hmm.
And it wasn't like one of those. I mean, if it was like perspective or visual communication, one of those classes that are very foundational,
Hmm.
I probably wouldn't do stuff like that. But this was like one of those history of art classes, I think.
Ah, yeah. Hmm.
And so I was like, you know,
The history of art we had on... Kiedy to labo? Kiedy mieliśmy zajęcia z historii? It was something along the run of Friday 8 a.m. or something like this.
oh gosh, on a Friday.
Yeah, which was absolutely stupid because after the art classes we had like 4 hour window because we before we continue with like the actual classes, and like going to those classes it was like a pain, the biggest pain I can imagine. it
I would imagine.
it was really really hard, and we also had exams on those classes, so it was like triple painful. And hello Miblert.
Yeah, it is. Oh, what's up, Milbert? Um, in kind of back on the topic of learning, just because I wanted to say something before I
Hmm.
miss it. I've learned recently that there is a way to learn according to your way of being, if that makes sense. Um, I always thought that I was doing stuff wrong because I learn a lot more from doing.
Hmm.
Um, and I always thought, I was like, man, I wonder this is like I bet there's other people that are learning more efficiently or better.
Hmm.
But I funny enough, I learned this in jujitsu. I was rolling with somebody, and I I did a technique that they had shown earlier, and I did it. I remember trying to do it over and over and over again as we're sparring, and actually like getting it. And I just overheard one of them because it was earlier in my time. Like I was a new guy at this place I was
Hmm.
training at, and one of the guys asking, I was like, "Oh, has he been training for a while? Like, man, he's got the technique down." And then one of them was like, "Oh, I think he said it's like kinesthetic learning or something like that." And then I looked it up, and it means that you learn. I believe it means that you learn from doing. But then there's other people that actually learn from, you know, like sitting down and studying the material. And I feel like that's something that I encounter a lot with artists on YouTube. Uh, that they're like, yes, I'm gonna just study this thing for. I know Anthony Jones when I
Hmm.
uh, studied under him, like he from watching his videos earlier, he had a similar thing where he would just like study and understand it.
For me, I don't think I think I would say I like a mix. I'm like a mix of stuff. Like I really sometimes I just have to see something so I can feel the click in my brain that oh, this is how you do it. But
Yeah,
then if I don't put it in the practice and actually try it, then there's like no way I will retain the information.
totally.
Yeah.
I do think there's still like I'm not saying that the only type like when you're a learn by action that's the only way you learn because I do think that there's still lectures still do matter a lot, but it just
Mm-hmm.
you need to combine it with the action before you can.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of myelin, but once you age, interesting what Luca just said about learning at a young age.
Well, but once you're huh? Do I even need this myelin to learn anything?
Do they sell it in supplements?
Yeah.
Hello,
Like,
Mortis champion. It's going
unless I
very
am
well.
just like right now growing up because like recently I have been learning much more than I have been in the past. So I don't know. But
Like art or just in general?
I believe in general, like just generally learning stuff.
I like that. Well, I do hear often people that are like 50 years old, and this mainly pertains to like physical training because that's some of the people I follow.
Hmm.
But a lot of them were like, dude, I would run circles around, 25-year-old me.
Yeah, that is true. But on the other hand, you also have so much experience and you just know your body this much more that you just
Yeah.
know what you can. But on the other hand, if you would try to outrun a 25-year-old you, and as a 25-year-old you, you would know that you're running versus your older self. I believe this will be enough motivation to like smoke your own ass.
I feel like that's where maturity comes in because a mature person would be like, all right, I'll let him blow his wad and then I'll, you know,
On the
overtake it.
other hand, yeah. On the other hand, it could like this plan could easily backfire. So
Yeah.
that's true.
It's like the Fast and Furious. You've seen the one where they press the nitrous, and then Dominic Toretto,
Hmm.
as he's thinking about family, he's like, "No, I'm gonna wait," and then he just presses the thing right before the finish line,
Mm. I
and then
honestly
can
saw this movie this like such a long time ago that I don't even remember it, and it I do remember this part because they did memes from it like 10,000 times, so I've seen it
yeah,
also 10,000 times. But in general, this Fast and Furious was like the absolute brain dead type of a movie for me.
the new ones, the old ones, bro,
The
the old
first one,
ones.
the first maybe the second were okay. The new one, I don't even want to know what is happening in there. Oh,
Well,
hello, Marta
they are.
Champion.
I think the new one they were like fighting Thanos or something. I'm not sure. I think so.
I guess it was in space, so I would
Yeah,
absolutely believe they did a collab with Marvel. It's like it wouldn't surprise me at all, honestly.
it only makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's the next step for them.
That's true. Yeah, now when I'm doing this line art like thingy, I definitely feel that my anatomy is like whoosh. Like this is the part that is slowing me super down.
When looking at line art, do you ever look at references of like line art that you want to emulate, or like how do you approach like getting better at that?
Uh, hmm. Usually with like line art, I just like to draw it my way, and I usually like to do kind of like thinner type of a line art that is a little bit more uniform across the entire drawing, and then I can like add additional layer, like kind of layer it out. So then I can decide
Hmm.
where I want to like push the lines, the thicknesses, and everything. For the style, depends. Sometimes yes, but more often than not, I will just draw it the way I like it. Because usually when I look for at other people artworks is when I want to see how they solve the problem that I cannot solve, and most often than not it is related to colors. So most often I will just check how someone painted something using those colors and how they brought the variety for the colors and stuff like this. So usually those are my main concerns. For line art, I just like the way I maybe not how to say it. I don't like the way I am drawing per se. I don't have a problems with it. So I
Yeah,
think
because
I will.
I'm curious, especially because I am one that is on a quest to improve my line art, but not as in like make it cleaner or nicer, but just more so find a language, for lack of better terms, like
Mhm.
find a way that for me is like, yeah, it's I want to do that.
I guess the easiest way is to just like draw because at least for me it was always like I would draw and I will do like this several strokes that I really like and I was like huh like this works, it looks nice, and then after like drawings and drawings I will just have more and more of those small stuff that will keep adding up and then it will like kind of develop a style in a sense. So
Hmm.
I think for me this was the always the way to go, to just like in this case it was just like practice and practice. It usually worked for me best this
Yeah.
way because again if you don't practice then there's no really way of improving. For stuff like this, but also the thing is with anatomy it is a topic that I have been trying to learn for like ages, but I never really managed to push myself to like the actual limits to actually learn it, like to just do those super heavy lifting with like anatomy and just like grind my way through it because I always felt it was lacking. Like I done all those like constructions and everything, but I do believe I am still lacking this like super high level push with it.
Did you ever do like gesture classes or anatomy classes?
Gesture, anatomy, proco. I like drew several books through, like copied them, did stuff based on them. There is just something with anatomy that don't really want to click within my mind. I'm not sure what it is. For a long period of time, I had a problem definitely while drawing and just doing stuff with trying to make them super correct because the way I was taught in the school that I was attending, because it was like a private private school of art and stuff like this, they
Hmm.
were very heavy on like construction and everything, so all the geometry, like to make it like proper perspective, so you can't draw, let's say, a cube from imagination. You have to construct it, you have to like make the vanishing points, lines, like all of this stuff, but
Yeah.
in a manner that is more entry exams friendly. So it's not like super time consuming, it's also a bit faster. But because of this, I for a very long time felt that I can't really enjoy drawing that much because I'm trying to make stuff correct. And for example, if I drew an arm and I see the geometry of it is incorrect, then it would annoy the fuck out of me. And for me, this was like a huge stopping thing with
Do
actually
you feel like
learning.
you have like how do you feel about this? Like, do you feel like you have to detrain yourself a little bit, or do you think that it kind of, like, how do you feel?
I had to stop care about it. When I stopped caring about like making everything like this super like even and everything, then it became much easier to do the art again. But for a very long period of time, it was super hard because of just like knowing the stuff. Because sometimes I knew something is incorrect, but I couldn't correct it. Like I had no idea how to fix the thing, and this
Yeah.
was this was really annoying.
How would you say like one can put into practice that not caring part? Because I know that for me, like that's you know, it definitely I resonate with that a lot.
Uh, for me, it was something along the lines of one day I just like stopped caring. Like it was not a process that I had to go through. Just I have this like vague memory of uh, being after some sort of a party or like on hangover or whatever, and I wanted to draw
Nice.
something, and I was so hungover that I couldn't even draw like an ellipse, and I kind of felt like I forgot how to draw an ellipse. I like stopped understanding it for like a day because I was like so tired. And after this, I was like, yo, like did it just erase my memory or what happened?
Yeah.
And I remember that after this, I took a break from drawing for like a month or something like this, just to kind of like recharge batteries in general because I kind of felt overwhelmed back then with all the stuff and everything. Then after the break, I felt a lot of stuff actually sorted itself out in my brain, and it was like now it's much easier. Like I guess it just needed time to recover and like properly store all the informations and everything. And I remember one day when I was sitting, I don't remember only when it was, but just like the general idea of it. And
Hmm.
I just wanted to draw something and I couldn't. And I was like stressing over it so hard. And at some point I was like, yo, like I like doing it. Why do I even stress about it? Like, what is the point of stressing about it? And then I decided, yeah, I am not stressing about it. And I stopped. And honestly, from that point it was just like much more pleasant experience. It happened like max 4 years ago, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's still a relatively new thing because sometimes I do, of course, like uh, stress out about the stuff that I'm doing. But it's much easier for me to just like chill and be like, just go with the process. Like I believe in me being able to sort it out. So
That's interesting because I do think there's something to developing a bit of like artist confidence, for lack of better terms.
mm,
Uh, and that's kind of what I was asking about that because I know that for me earlier on, I definitely used to be one of those. It was I'd overthought a lot of things. Like, man,
mm,
is this right? Am I doing this? Like, and I feel like over the years, just the one thing that through practice you just get is like, whatever pickle I get myself in with this, I know how I'm gonna get out of it.
yeah, because even for me, like right now, especially I like even for the drawing that I'm doing right now, I know that okay, maybe something is not correct. Maybe like I know what part I don't like. I don't know. I know what is not correct for me. But now I have enough of the brain cells to be like, I guess I will just take my shirt off, take a picture of me in a similar pose, just slap it next to it, and just figure out the anatomy and everything. And I believe now I am just much more capable of dealing with the problems that I have to solve. Like I know how to solve them, and back in the
Yeah.
days I had no idea how to solve them. So And also the fact that solving all those problems usually is bazillion times easier than I thought it is, because back in the days when I had a problem with drawing, it was like this mountain that you cannot go through. Now
Yeah.
when I have a problem, like I can prepare a 3D model of it. I can just like vaguely position it the same way, and I will see how it does look like, or how the shadow looks like, or how whatever looks like in here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and back in the days, I will be like, 3D? No, I can't use 3D references. Oh no, that's
That's
illegal.
forbidden.
Yeah, God forbid I use references. That's like true artists never use references. They know everything. So,
Mm, wait, artists use reference?
what
That's
do you
another
mean?
one. Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's more so like the walls that we put in front of our own heads, you know? That say like, oh no, you can't do this, you can't do that. Have you ever tried like drawing in different styles, like cartoony or stylized, I should say?
Uh, mm, how
I just
to
wonder how you would
say
go,
it?
like, or how you would like it.
I wouldn't say I have not, but not to the extent where I could tell you if I have like any feelings about it in particular. So I know there is a lot of value in all those like stylized stuff and everything, especially in character drawing. I think getting good at anatomy and decent at just drawing characters, then going into more stylized way to like learn how to simplify the shapes and everything if needed, and then going back to like this academic approach is would be the best way for me.
Hmm.
But I would say I am still like lagging on the most basic stuff anatomy wise. So I have not yet tried.
Yeah, I mean, reason why I bring that up is because I feel like drawing a different style, I think it gives a different perspective on how to draw anatomy, because you're kind of now entering the realm of like really interpreting something, right?
Hmm.
Like you're not really I mean, you are following anatomy, but you're also kind of doing your thing. Um, and that for me is the thing that fascinates me. I love looking at stylized artists like that, you know? Like what how Joe Mad
Hmm.
interprets anatomy to me is like one of the coolest things.
Yeah, for me it's often also like just grabbing some references from like Pinterest or whatever. I have one, but let me just I will slap it to my stream if I find it. References, tips. Uh, yeah, I believe you can see on the stream, or you will be able to see it in a moment. But even stuff like this, uh, if stylized, I often go with stuff with things like those. I don't know if you can see it.
Let me see.
Ah, Tozvu, yeah, I know him.
Uh, Wait, are you sharing screen or?
Uh, oh wait, I will send them.
I see. I see
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So
Totally.
stuff for stylized stuff, I guess something like this is mostly helpful for me. Like those small tips that I'll just gather around and just remember because it's easy to remember. So yeah. No, I also see that our cameras disappeared. So
Did mine die?
I don't know, but my
Oh,
for some reason died. So I don't know why. Oh, because
technicals.
I opened the chat. Oh, this explains a lot. Okay. So I can't open the chat on Skype because this way it disappears. Yeah, I guess also we can wrap the stream up because I also have to like go because soon I have the call. Uh, so yeah,
Sweet.
I
Likewise.
guess it will be end for today, and then uh, I don't know. Maybe in the next week we'll continue if you will have time.
Dude, I am so down. I
Yeah,
love doing these.
it's nice. And thanks everyone for like watching and have a good day. And thanks for being here and everything. And see ya.
Take care,
Yeah.
y'all. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining.
Goodbye.